Hi guys, it's DK Daniels back here again with another live stream of my book Chasing Christmas. It's very nice to have you all back again. Um, I hope everybody has had a good weekend so far. It's been a very busy day for me. I was out Christmas shopping all day trying to get all those last minute, Christmas gifts out of the way, and I think I'm pretty much done. So that's the good news. I hope everybody else is you know, almost there and not too panicked about Christmas just around the corner. But anyway, for the last 12 days we've been reading my book Chasing Christmas, which is a YA LGBTQ um romance kind of adventure book. And if you don't know who I am DK Daniels, a YA LGBTQ fiction author. And yeah, so the last nearly 2 weeks we've been reading my book and we've made great strides with it, and I believe people have been enjoying it, and I've been really enjoying it. I feel weird saying that word. But yeah, I've been enjoying it too. And yeah, but let's just get some of the 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 normal turn of events stuff out of the way. I'll give a quick recap of what we did in the last chapter, and then I'll also just cover a little bit what's going to come up in the following chapters. We'll probably end up reading two back-to-back chapters because um, the next two chapters are fairly short. So just to kind of add a bit of length to it, we'll read two chapters. We'll wait for a few minutes for some folks to trickle in, and then we'll see how it goes. But anyway, yeah, don't be afraid to say anything in the comments. I love talking to people, so don't be shy. You can always say something in the comments. I'll try and answer it as best I can. I do know there is a slight there's a lag in, or sorry, not a lag, but I know the live stream is about a minute behind from when I say something now. I've only been made really aware of that now. But even if I move on, don't be afraid to still mention something. I'll still backtrack and answer your question or whatever it is. And yeah, but yeah, so that's just that. It's just the thing that's happened. But anyway, I'll get straight into the recap of what happened in the last chapter and then what's coming up. So um, Noah hobbled after jumping from the mall parking lot stairwell from the window with a sore leg, and he hobbles all the way back to the street, and he finds the rest of the boys, and they're all worried, searching for him. And he's even glad that his little cousin found his way from the garage to the street and joined in with the rest of the boys. But eventually Noah ends up breaking the bad news that Elijah has been taken hostage. And of course, the kids get to discussing how they could get Elijah back. And Lucas ends the discussion more or less with a self sacrifice, um, which I don't know. Do you think that's a humble gesture, or do you think it's owed, I guess, in a way, because Elijah wouldn't have gotten taken if it were for Lucas being such a, well, a typical a-hole, I guess you want to call it that. My boyfriend actually had a lengthy conversation with me last night, and he was like, the first time I read the book, I actually kind of liked Lucas. And then the second time that I've read it now, I'm kind of like, Lucas is a little bit more of an a-hole than I first initially realized. And I guess, yeah, I suppose I see it a small bit. But yeah, I guess I'm only starting to realize that now. But anyway, coming up now in the book, the boys make it to the drain pipe that Jack had been talking about, and they wait for him to show up because Jack has this master plan that he's going to, put together, and let's hope it all, materializes and comes together. But as Noah does nothing other than worry with Elijah during this time, while he's waiting for Jack, he just thinks about all the horrible ways that, he could be tortured or hurt, and, it almost breaks his heart. But eventually, all the candidates turn up, and Noah and Lucas and Jack, they all head into the darkness of the drain pipe with the twins tagging along. And that's what Noah wants. He wants to be, he wants to have people, I guess you could say, moving forward. He's a man of action. He doesn't want to be, just waiting for whatever's going to happen. But then, as they reach the hollow, they find the shack, and apparently it's occupied, but the surroundings are completely deserted, like expected. And then they try to get to negotiating with these two big bullies, and eventually the negotiation fails, and the boys decide to storm the fort anyway. Only this time it's with help, and it's Jack's plan that's materialized, and they're all relieved that the help has showed up. Um, but they make a daring rescue, and I guess we'll have to find out whether they rescue Elijah. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much all of the recap and the upcoming events of what's happening in this chapter. But while we're waiting for a few minutes, I just thought I'd drop a little bit of a thing just to kill some time. Also, FYI, if you're not on my mailing list, make sure you sign up to my mailing list. I'm sending out a free short story on the 24th to 25th, somewhere around there, to only people who's on my Patreon and my mailing list. It's going to be a free Christmas short story. I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So yeah, make sure you signed up for that. But anyway, while we're waiting for a few minutes, I thought I'd share a little snippet from my behind the scenes material. It's stuff that was cut from the book that I never bothered using, so I thought I'd share that real quickly. But I also thought I'd say, considering it's a Christmas book, I decided I'd share a Christmas photo of me when I was a kid. This was pretty much my first time of actually sitting on Santa's lap that I'm aware of. I was about 2, so you're talking about 1998. But yeah, this is a picture. I don't know how, still don't know how you mirror it. But this is a picture of me and my brother. So yeah, that's me. My first time sitting on Santa's lap, and that's my brother there. But yeah, I just decided to dig that out, and considering it's a Christmas story, I decided to share something about me that's Christmassy. But yeah, I mean, Polaroid. How old can you get? But yeah. Um, just let me know, what was your first experience with sitting on Santa's lap or whatnot. I can't remember. I don't think I was ever terrified of Santa, but you know, were you ever terrified of Santa when you first, met him or whatnot? Because I know a lot of kids, some kids end up crying, but that's just the way it goes, I guess. But anyway, um, I'll decide that I'll share uh some content of behind the scenes here. But of course, if I've moved on, still feel free to drop it down in the comment section, and I'll still answer it and that and everything. But this was the scene that I cut from Chasing Christmas. It would have been the last chapter or more along the epilogue. But it says here Noah's crush with Abby needs to be closed, right? She flirts with him. Abby and Noah stand under a mistletoe, and Noah kisses her on a cheek, right? And I think that was more or less when I was still trying to figure out what was going on with Noah. But yeah, I think it was more or less, you know what I mean. Him, trying to get away from her in that sense, maybe, I guess. Noah confirms his love to Elijah. I think it was kind of like, he's trying to stay on the straight path, but then he still feels conflicted about Noah. So he decides, sorry, not Noah, Elijah. So he decides to go for Elijah eventually. So it says here, Elijah retrieves a kiss from him beneath the mistletoe instead. Noah also asks why his mom took Elijah's family in without anyone asking. Do you know what I mean? And in an odd way, Noah also forgives his bully. Noah, though, keeps his wits about him when he's out and about. Perhaps not. Perhaps Noah is left in a state of paranoia. Anytime he leaves the safety of the people he trusts or a safe place, he feels a bit, anxious. And that was something that I didn't end up writing into the story, where he was anxious all the time he left. I ended up completing, instead of having a Christmas party, I ended up completing it when they were in a like an ice skating rink at the end of the book. But yeah, um, and then of course, this is all kind of brought to life when Noah ends up going outside and he realizes that, when he's bringing trash out, that he realizes that he's still kind of afraid of this bully. And, maybe he has to kind of not forgive the bully in himself, to kind of, not be as, terrified every time he goes out. But, yeah, so there's that. But yeah, I also have here, after the story, where the epilogue, it's just funny. Um, with the mistletoe and where they go caroling, which I did include. There's a section here where I have where they go caroling, which is just there. Lucas burps while caroling. I'm pretty sure I included that in the finished book as well. They see the other boys in the street as they go to the next house, which I also included that. They are going to town for the Christmas fest gathering, or whatever you want to call it. Um, but yeah, it's just funny. I just thought I'd share a little bit of that with you. I'm going to probably start now in my book. But anyway, yeah, you can get lots of different notes like this over on my Patreon page. I have all the behind the scenes stuff, including all the cut stuff that I never really used. But if you're interested in all that kind of stuff, or you'd want a bit more of an insight into the world of Chasing Christmas, you can definitely have a look at it there. It's all included there, including the full story. But anyway, I'll get on my way with Chasing Christmas here. So we're on page 240. Sorry, 276 if you have the paperback equivalent. But okay. So we had made a move on and started for the drain pipe. We had left them all behind, and the houses became scarce. The further we got from the central hub of civilization, I felt the doubt come creeping in. It's just that the park where Miller's Crossing is, well, it's a little bit more remote. It is actually one of the worst spots in town. You could walk non-stop for about an hour into the forest and not see a house. Then again, if you ran directly out from either side of the woods, then you would be back to a busy street. For some odd reason, the park reminds me of Central Park. I'm not sure why, but the park does have lakes and, well, plenty of areas for the bullies to chase us around if they really wanted to. Turning off the main pathway that led into the heavily wooded area, we had backtracked on ourselves and came to a ridge of a dip that took a sharp plunge along the dike. Looking down the slope, I could make out the sinister outline of the concrete pipe in the ditch. The snow had gotten somewhat difficult, and what was dark out in the well-lit area was even more ominous in the neck of the woods. "This is it?" Lucas asked, as he stopped beside me and glanced to make sure his footing was safe. The twins rustled through the trees behind us, and I casually glimpsed around at them before fixating my eyes back on the ditch. "Yeah," I offered. "At least it wasn't flooded with water or covered with a thick layer of ice. It was just slightly powdered with snow in the ravine, and that was what I was hoping for." Shimmying carefully along the edge, I finished admiring the view and walked along the outcropping. I knew from experience that there was a slope that was slightly gentler over by the pipe that you could climb down without falling. In doing so, I came to where the earth under my feet dropped down a step. I stopped and toggled my phone flashlight and stepped carefully down the steps, and occasionally telling the boys to watch their step. In doing so, I dropped down the ledge into the pit and glanced around it. I remember falling down here when I was a kid, and I couldn't get back out of it because of the drop I took. Though now, I would be able to grasp it and pull myself up easily. If I had to relive that moment all over again, I'd rather not. Aiming my phone at the ground, I carefully navigated to make sure I didn't fall over a jutting rock, and slowly but surely I made my way over to the pipe. One of the boys could be heard dropping down the ledge behind me from the crunch they made when they jumped off the edge. I wasn't exactly sure what to expect, but I knew that Elijah was on the far end of this pipe, and I just hoped that once I got there, that he was going to be okay. I'm going to rescue him. No doubt about that. Then he'll love me. Right? Hey, look, Lucas, it's your shit. Ben bluntly cut in. Turning around, I chuckled at the joke. Ben was obviously talking about the ledge the boys jumped down. The mud had bled through, and all that came to the surface was the brown like bruise beneath its cold cover. Yeah, but you're standing in it, Lucas wittily retorted. Just then, Ben stepped out of the patchy snow and made his way over towards us. The boys had managed to get down without a problem, and now it's just us standing in the middle of a hole in the ground that didn't work for any reason. I think we need to wait a bit, I announced, signaling that we were supposed to wait for Jack. Well, that's what I was told to do, right? Though what happens if he's not back in time? I guess I'll just have to go on without him. I know, but I don't want to be late. Something about how they reacted when I was there didn't persuade me to be slack when we were traveling to Miller's Crossing. The boys all huddled closer to the entrance of the pipe. They spilled in different directions. Ben went to the left of the tube. Lucas stood inside, out of the cold, just at the entrance to the dark tunnel, and Adam started engraving his name into the concrete with a stone he had found. Yeah, Lucas offered. Lucas stamped his feet on the concrete to shake the excess snow off his shoes, then rubbed his hands together. By the way, are your folks expecting us home soon? Lucas chirpily asked for the first time since our fight earlier. He stuck his hands under his arms to warm them and looked at me, waiting for an answer. Remind Reminds me that I need to check in with them, I mumbled to Lucas. Moving away from the group, I started swiping through my contacts in my phone. How do you know about this place? Ben asked. Turning to him, I backed away a little bit as I stood immobile. Me and Jack used to take a shortcut through the trees up there. I turned I turned to point at the left side of the ditch, glancing back to him to get to the other side of the town. And one evening I hit a jagged outcropping of a route and I veered off the track and I fell down here. And so did my bike, I said. Then what? Adam asked, prematurely, breaking his concentration with his artistic Adam engraved into the wall. Well, I climbed back out with the help of Jack. I chortled with the thought. Yeah, I needed help to get back out. So, how do you know where it leads? Lucas spoke softly. Peering directly at his silhouette in the tunnel, I said, we came back the next day with flashlights in addition to a lot of bruises on my legs and arms. Lucas chuckled loudly. I'm going to call the rents, I deadpanned. Holding my phone, I waved it, and the toggled light on it waved about on the wall to the right. I smiled at the boys and stepped away and tapped on my mom's contact number. The tone rang out and gave a moment after a moment, and the phone line opened on her far end. Noah, the nurturing voice came on the far end. It made me feel safe for a moment. It is at this moment I forgot about what was going on and how nice it would be to be at home right now. The cold was getting to me at this point, and well, the thought of Elijah lingered over me. Then I began contemplating how I was going to play this conversation safely. Hey, Mom, I just thought I'd call you to let you know that we'll be a little longer, I said. Surely that would cover it, right? It is going to be a little longer before we come home with Elijah in tow, and when we do, I'll never want to look back at this nightmare ever again. Noah, it's dark out and dinner is almost ready, Mom said in that tone. You know, the pitch where she is asking you to come home but without actually saying it. But, Mom, we need a little more time, I pleaded. I don't know what for, but I think Mom sensed a hint of worry on my end. More time for what? She asked. I knew that this conversation would inevitably steer off charter. Nothing is going according to plan today, is it? Trying to think up a good excuse, I settled with, we're playing a game. To which I already began scolding myself because it didn't sound at all convincing. Noah, you guys have to be back before 7, Mom said a little stricter. Pulling my phone away from my face, I glanced at the time at the top of the screen. The ghostly white contrast burned at my eyes and flooded out the numbers 18:21. I propped the cell back to my ear and begged, please, Mom, it really means a lot. There was a moment of silence, and I wasn't sure if I had gotten through on the other end when she came back with, you guys have 15 minutes extra, so hurry up and finish your game. I felt a little disappointed, of course. Now I knew everything would have to go down within a matter of minutes, and if Jack wasn't back in the next couple of minutes, then we'd have to leave without him. But I don't know how long it will take to get him, I blurted out. I smacked my hand to my mouth from panic and rolled up my eyes. Buckling my knees, I felt a slight sting before straightening back up again. Get whom? Mom asked. Uh, um, hide and seek, I mumbled as an excuse. Hide and seek? Mom asked suspiciously. Yeah, I practically cried. All right, Noah, I hope you boys are not up to some kind of trouble, she said. What? No, definitely not, I dryly added. Okay, well, I'll see you at 7:15, and Noah, don't be late, Mom said. And with that, I said, yes, and hung up. Taking a gulp, I sighed. I can't believe I got through the entire conversation. My heart was running rampant in my chest. I thought it might have exploded with all the stress I'm under. Using my phone to navigate my way back to the boys, I stopped short of a large rock that was beside the main entrance to the tunnel. Everyone was really quiet, and that is scary to me. I think everyone secretly knew that once we passed through the storm drain, that we were going to either fight or be pummeled to death. Ben had noticed that I returned and he smiled a goofy grin. It's snowing, he said. No shit, Lucas sarcastically offered. It's been snowing the last half hour. Not sure how to brace the topic, I looked at the lads and said, yeah, guys, we need to be home by 7:15 p.m. So if Jack is not back in time, then we need to leave without him. Everyone nodded in silence. Then Lucas asked, what happens if he's not back in time? Glancing from twin to twin, I shook my head and said, I don't know, but we have to leave either way. A rustling came from the trees behind the slope. I was prepared to run if it were the bullies. Is that funny? I'm going to rescue the boy I like, and at the first sign of danger, I'm ready to take off and not look back. A hushed voice came out of the bushes and started for the slope that we had just came down. I toggled my flashlight up at the intruders and saw that it was Jack, though he had that guy Andrew with him. The two of them put their hands up to shield their eyes from the torch, and I let my guard down when I saw it was just the two of them. Why does he have Andrew with him? Andrew is the last person I'd expect to turn up at this place. He's this gorgeous blonde boy with magnificent blue eyes and a lovely ass. Okay, back to the present. Why is he here? Hi, Andrew whispered to me. Giving him a nod with a hey back, I turned my attention to Jack. Jack didn't waste any time. He knew we were pushed for time, and Jack prepared himself for what he had been planning all that time while he was gone. He was panting a little bit, as if he had been running a lot. Okay, here's the plan. I've rounded up 6 people who are going to serve as a distraction while we come up the back and surround them. Though first, we'll scope it out, Jack said. Where are the rest? I asked. Then Lucas cut in. This is not like a Shakespeare play. You can't just sneak around the back hoping that they'll be preoccupied with a distraction. I have to admit that this was a bit weird. And how does he even know about Shakespeare? Maybe I underestimate my cousin a little too much sometimes. Though right now, I think I'll believe just about anything, even if it's not exactly viable. If it gives me hope of getting Elijah back, or it works to get him back, then who cares? Jack gave Lucas a quizzical expression, and Lucas just held his hands up as a sorry for the offending gesture. They're on the far side of Mill Crossing. I just need to send a message to tell them to go ahead. If things get hairy, they'll help us out, Jack said, analyzing every word that Jack had announced. I can't seem to touch on any subject that he had mentioned. My mind is lost. Anyway, at this point, I just wanted to get across to the other side so I can be a hero of sorts. Right. So do we get do we go now? I asked to the group more than just to Jack. With a nod, he held up his arms. Jack had a large branch in his hand. Yeah, but maybe we should arm ourselves first. Is there going to be a huge scrap? Lucas asked enthusiastically. His mind and focus perked up a little bit when he heard arming ourselves. Sorta, Jack teasingly rebuked. Picking up a rock for safe measure, I was ready to go. With that, we all subconsciously started to funnel toward the tunnel and into the black abyss. Oh, the smell, Lucas groaned. I too could smell it. It didn't stink much like sewerage, but it definitely wasn't nice. Jack began chuckling as he walked down the center of the pipe, unsure what was waiting for us on the other side. Yeah, it's the best in the world, Jack teased. Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, did you get back to your parents, Damon? Did you? If you're still in the the live stream, um, I'm not too sure whether many people have shown up tonight. So, um, if people are actively watching this, just let me know in the comments if you're here. I'm not too sure how accurate I can see at the top, whether folks are kind of, watching the live stream, but I don't know exactly how accurate it is because it fluctuates so much and, it just drops off sometimes completely. So, yeah. So, but let me see, where am I? 5, 2, 3. Okay. So, we'll make a go for the 16th chapter, and then I think we'll probably call it an evening. So let's see how it goes. Trailing out one by one cautiously on the far end of the pipe, we each stepped across a frozen stream and up a small hill. Right there, down in the clearing, was a small shack. Blending in with the tree line, we observed the surrounding area. Everything appeared to be in the clear. Nobody was moving. Everyone seemed to be inside. A small flicker of white light came from the shack down in the open field. Though as quickly as it came on, it vanished. The shack returned to eerie darkness in the shadows of the hillside. Sometimes you'd often get people walking dogs down here, but no. None tonight. Oh, that's nice that you're in Gort. Let me know when you get home. we're using a live stream to communicate. Okay. Um, I sure hope Elijah is down there and that they haven't hurt him, but because if they have hurt him, I'll kill them. I just know it. I'd be committed if they touched that sweet boy. I don't know why I feel this way, but I really like him. I guess they're there. That's where I'd be considering. It's cold, Jack whispered. Seeing from the outline of the shack to Jack, I squinted slightly to see him, to make out his face. Though it was hard, I was so accustomed to seeing those green eyes, blonde hair, and face adorned with freckles. Though not now. All I could see was the alabaster of his skin, which lurked in the shadows. I got to go down, I mumbled. I don't think that's a good idea, Jack said, with worry. Why not? If they capture me, then at least you'll have a person on the inside. Lucas crouched beside me and in a hushed tone offered, It could work, though it's dangerous. Yeah, it's risky, Jack said, almost pleadingly. I knew his eyes were locked onto me, and my eyes were locked onto his. I just knew that if we could actually see each other, that I would somehow cave at the idea of going in. Though even if Jack says it's a bad time, we're going to have to go and talk to them anyway. Why delay it any further? Let's just get it over with and done. I want Elijah back. It's better than nothing, I said, as casually and confidently as possible. Will you come down with me? I asked. I couldn't think of anyone else better to walk the final walk with other than Jack. If I was going to die or something, then I don't think I'd want to do it with any other person than with him. I trust him with my life. I'm not sure why, but I just know that he'll have my back regardless. Plus, we need evidence that Elijah is okay and actually there. If I brought Lucas with me, then that would be giving them the bargaining chip away too quickly. Then again, I had no plan to trade Lucas, but I didn't want to take that chance. Lucas piped up and tapped me on the shoulder. Why not ask me? Lucas said, turning to him. I sighed and said, Because it's safer that you stay here. It even surprised me more than that he didn't moan or anything. Lucas just remained quiet while hunkering down beside me. Jack took a moment, then he reached into his pocket and unlocked his phone. Jack showed Lucas what number to send the help to, and Lucas held the phone delicately and determined, waiting to aid us if we needed it. With that, Jack and I nodded at each other, and we got up to descend the hill. The snow was awfully deep along the track down. The sleet continued to come down quite heavy. The cold is so crisp that when I breathed it in, it literally took my breath away. There was a coolness to the fresh air that couldn't be explained, but somehow it felt rejuvenating. It tingled my nostrils every time I took a breath. Glancing back up the slope, I saw the pair of our footprints trailing up the hill and into the trees. Before we knew what is what, we came to a stop a couple of yards short of the shack. Jack turned his attention to me and sighed from anxiousness, and let a sigh of doubt go. I'm anxious right now. I can feel my heart getting ready to take off like a hammer pounding at the end of a sword at a blacksmith's forge. Breaking contact with Jack, I turned my attention ahead to the abandoned building. We're here, I called out loud enough for them to hear me. Though nobody called back. The shanty just remained quiet. Not a soul came to the door. The sound was beginning to drive me crazy. There wasn't any. It was just the snow falling that could be felt on my arms when I looked down at it, but that's about it. That and the faint shimmering glow of civilization in behind a cluster of trees in the distance. The stillness of everyone made me feel powerless at the moment, I was about to call out again when Jack asked, "Do you like him?" Shifting my attention to Jack, I felt all these weird sensations in my stomach start to grow. It felt like my stomach was being hosed out with a power washer, or a series of butterflies had just hatched inside my tummy and they were going wild. Uh, I, I, uh, I struggled to say. However, Jack just said, "It's cool." With that, a loud scraping sound cut through the conversation, and the surrounding area was injected with life. The two of us darted our attention to the shack, and someone appeared in the doorframe. A voice spoke smugly from the shadows. "You decided to turn up after all." The voice sounded familiar and menacing. It had to be the boy with the green beanie. Although I couldn't see them, it made me worry a little bit that we would be working in the blind here. Then a sizable blinding beam of light obscured my vision, and I shielded my eyes from the harsh brightness. They had torches. My God, was that torch powerful! Because I can see spots. Scratch that. I can feel them. My eyes feel strange. The boy had turned the torch off and let the darkness retake its toll. "Can we see Elijah?" I presumably I prematurely asked, while digging my palms into my eyes, hoping that they'd adjust quicker. He's all I can think about, and it's the only thing that is on my mind. I don't care about anything else other than getting him back and making it home in time for dinner. "Is that the boy who threw the snowball?" Another sweet sounding voice came from inside the doorframe as another silhouette appeared. Though the other boy's voice was much darker in comparison, it was the boy with the beanie who frightened me the most. His friend appeared his friend disappeared back inside, and one apparition remained at the door. A moment later there were three people at the entrance. Shifting my attention to Jack and then back to the thugs who had my prints, I shouted back, "No, but he's close." "Wait, you mean he's not standing there beside you?" The nasty leader of the two coldly spat. Their flashlight toggled on again, only this time they pointed it at the top of Elijah's head, completely blinding him. He didn't try and resist, he just let them push him about, because he obviously knew that if he tried anything, they would throw him around like a rag doll. My heart sank just seeing him like that. Thank God that they didn't hurt him. I think maybe they just scared him more than anything else. The intimidation was just hopefully to make him fear them. Fear works like that, right? If you're too scared to run away from any if you're too scared to run away because of the possibility of repercussions, then you won't run away. They shone the light from Elijah back to us, and I raised my arm to block the beam as if it were looking up at the sky on a sunny day. There is this odd feeling in the air. It's like a pressure, like something is going to happen even though nothing has happened yet. But I think the seclusion is somehow adding to it. I should have thought my strategy out a little better. Say, if we needed to make a retreat, where will I go? I never even thought of that. The closest place which comes to mind is the stone bridge by the lakes. He's close by, I nervously jittered. I can swear I'm going to lose my two breakfasts and lunch if I get any more worked up than I am right now. The boy turned off the flashlight, and then I could hear a little bit of a scuffle. The figures in the door became one instead of three. Then the light came back on again, and then the boy turned it off. Then he turned it on again, directly blinding us. Then he turned it off. It gave me a sense of being insecure. Is he toying with us or something? Because I feel like something terrible is going to happen. Jack turned slightly beside me and glanced behind us. Maybe the bully was signaling somebody. But then I heard a weird sound coming from behind. It sounded like a group of lads at an NFL match. It looked like when a group of boys were all cheering for their favorite baseball team. Then it hit me. Glancing up at the hill, Lucas and the group came pouring out of cover and screaming their lungs out like rebels. I panicked and shot my attention back to the door. The boy had the light directing it out toward Lucas, and from afar, he dropped it and darted back inside. Without thinking, I shot from my frozen spot and started running for the shack. Nothing at all matters now. We had found out we had been found out, and I don't think we could exactly turn back the clock now. Running as if my life depended on it, getting to that door before it closed, I led the pack. The boy was trying to close the door. I sprinted faster because I knew that once that door was closed, it was all over. That they would surely hurt Elijah. Lucas and his pack joined up with me, and Jack, who had taken off a fraction of a second later than I did. I feel a little flustered that Lucas had given the go ahead, but then again, maybe this is the only thing they understand: force. The boy was still having trouble trying to shut the door. I thought by now that he would have had it closed, but in the midst of all the panic, he dropped his flashlight, which was now stopping the door from closing. Just as he noticed it, I noticed it, and then I prepared myself to lurch forward with my leg, with everything I had to kick the door in, and I did it. Taking my foot from the snow to the wooden door, the boy's head smacked off the side of the gateway, and he stumbled back into the cabin. The pain that had vanished in my knee returned after the tremor. I took a moment to limp toward the flashlight that had glided across the ground and raised a bit of dirt. I persevered. The pain I was feeling in my knee, it was only temporary. And with that, I picked up the flashlight while dropping my stone and hobbled toward the small door that must have been the back room of the cabin. The other boys had caught up with us by now, and they had resorted to kicking that snapback kid on the ground. Leaving them to deliver punishment, I hobbled toward the door and burst into the side room and stopped dead in my tracks. A couple of boys tumbled in behind me and knocked into me, pushing me ahead of the group. The boy with the green beanie shouted at us in part anger and part nervousness. "Don't come any closer." He waved a flip knife about to show us that he was armed and that he wasn't taking this as a joke. I wasn't considering this as a joke either, but then he directed his arm to Elijah, who had his hands tied around a rickety looking support beam from the front. "Okay," I said cautiously. I don't want to make him suddenly lash out and Elijah gets hurt. Not after all of this. The cries of the other boy from the separate room had begun to stifle the air. "Are you okay?" I asked Elijah, to which he wrapped his left arm around the pole and gripped the crook of his inner arm. "I'm okay, just a little off balance," Elijah said. For a millisecond it confused me, but I got it. In the blink of an eye, the tug looked from Elijah to me, and then Elijah shot his legs out around the bullies, wrapped his legs tightly around the boy, and then he let himself drop from the pole to the floor in one swift motion. The result, it took the beanie headed boy off his feet, and we all started forward. Elijah reached the floor and then stretched across, picked up the knife, and harshly cut through the thin cord confining him. It had landed close to his side, though the bully was starting to get back up, and we stopped moving because we were all secretly terrified of him. The beanie kid now had a bloody cheek, and he looked even more pissed than he had been before he took the fall. When Elijah saw the face on the bully, he dropped the knife in panic and ran towards us. A second later, the word retreat was billowed throughout the confined walls of the cabin. Just like that, we all went back the way we had come. The other bully was gone, but the boy behind us went into full-on psycho mode, and we started running for our lives. We ran blindly out into the woods, separating from the other group of boys. Just me, Elijah, Lucas, Ben, and Adam, and Jack. We ran down the gradual decline of the clearing in the direction of the stone bridge. We darted through a cluster of trees and out onto the far side, before coming to a ghostly bridge covered in mist. It is a low-lying stone bridge. Nervously, I peered back. The bully wasn't in sight, but that didn't stop us from running. Getting off the beaten track, we funneled down off the dam and down onto the icy lake. In doing so, we all squeezed into one of the arches under the bridge, hoping that the bully would miss us somehow, and hoping that our footprints were too muddled to make out where we had gone. The twins pushed into the small space closest to the wall, and Lucas and Jack crammed into the middle. Elijah and I took the outside segment directly facing each other. Yeah, the cramped space was not exactly what I was looking for, but if it helped us get out of this alive, then who am I to complain about such things? Everyone was breathing heavily and uncontrollably. I can practically make out the remnants of sweat on Jack's face from all the excessive running about he has done. Trying to catch our breath, we all remained quiet. We knew that we weren't in the clear just yet. We shallowed our breaths when footsteps clamoured close. It sounded like a single person, and I hoped that whoever it was, that it wasn't the bully. We froze to the spot, praying that we wouldn't be found. The person ran across us above on the bridge, and following along, we all directed our heads toward the brick support above us, fearing that it was the bully running above us. Quickly, the footsteps walloped across the bricked bridge, and made the powdery granola crunch of snow. We all breathed a sigh of relief when it passed. It is the first time I actually found everyone smiling, and I was actually happy that something was working out in our favour. Lucas propped his head against the stone support inside. Glancing across at Elijah made me feel all wiggly for some reason. I had done it right. I had rescued him. His eyes were smiling, and God, did he look beautiful. My cutie is intelligent. I mean, that thing that Elijah did was like majorly cool. I don't think I would have even thought about that. He was like James Bond or something, or a badass that knew how to fight and keep himself safe if he really needed to. He wouldn't like a boy like who wouldn't like a boy like that? I can't tell if he's being coy, but Elijah knows I'm looking at him, and he is glancing back at me intensely, fondly. I think Elijah knows my secret. And God, he is so beautiful. I can feel my legs turning to jelly. My stomach is creating this hurricane of queasy churning. I think I want to kiss him, though. I don't think he'd like me to kiss him, would he? But then he bit his lower lip. Now that was incredibly sexy. Is that my signal? Perhaps I should try it. After all, I think I deserve a kiss, right? Screw it. I can kiss him. Just push away all the weird feelings, and with that, I began to lean forward, and I pressed my lips against his, in part with regret and part pride. And then, when Elijah started kissing back, it took everything in my mind to a whole new level. Would people at school ship it, or accept a relationship like Elijah and mine? The boys in the background started sniggering, and Jack jeered, "Oh!" Then we broke the kiss, and we became bashful. I mean, God, that kiss was. Then I think I'm in love. I rescued him, and sigh. We waited for a couple more minutes to be sure the bully was gone. There were no teasing glances. I had bubbly butterfly sensations in my stomach. I needed to wait for my rampant heartbeat to cease. I took Elijah by the hand softly. His hands are so soft, and the way he gripped my hand with his fingers made it all the more wonderful. Like that, We all slowly came out of hiding and started back up onto the bridge. The snow had stopped, and the mist across the bridge had cleared. We all started to walk on, knowing that home was our destination. I felt proud of all the boys and how things turned out. We all pulled together, and that is something I feel proud of. Now, all I need to worry about is the conversation I'll have to give to the rest of the boys when I get back to school after the Christmas holidays. With that, we slowly walked forward into the evening, sensing the guilt fade away and be replaced with the triumph of victory and acceptance. I was somehow happy that everyone didn't care about my decision to kiss Elijah, and it made me feel free for the first time in years. We were hoping that we wouldn't run into these boys ever again. Pondering on how I should thank the boys for helping me out, I mumbled gratefully, "You know what? Thank you guys. I mean it," I softly spoke. Everyone's eyes clued in on me in the middle of the group as we slowly made our way across the bridge. "You're welcome," Jack said with a radiant smile that lingered a moment before fading a little. "No problem," Lucas coyly offered. Glancing at him, I gave him a grin, to which he grinned back. "Oh, speaking of things, I got no present for Samantha," Jack said when he realized that fact. We all began to chuckle at the thought, knowing what we had spent the entire evening doing. Though I remembered that I was supposed to give Elijah a present and I didn't get him one. I smacked my free hand to my head in annoyance while I still held his hand with the other. "Shit," I blurted out. Jack began to chuckle, and I think the boys somehow knew because everyone just smiled gratefully at my show of forgetfulness. A momentary silence came over the group, then Jack spoke up dryly. "Oh yeah, right. I taught you like this." Leaning over, he handed me a small parcel. It was weird considering that I had already got a present from him. I let go of Elijah's hand for a moment, even though I didn't want to, but I had to. "What's this?" I asked, giving it a wiggle. "Well, it's something I thought you'd like for a particular reason," Jack snidely said. "It's from me, to you, to Elijah." Jack smugly cut in after his smile returned. Not sure what it was, I passed it to Elijah because he said it was for him, and Elijah cupped it gently in his small hands. Elijah began to tear the parcel paper, and then a snow globe appeared from inside the confines of the paper. I immediately saw the funny side of it, and I glanced over at Jack and gave him a smug look before chuckling to myself. Jack had found the time to go back and buy something from that shop in the mall before they closed. "I just knew you guys would love a snow globe," Jack teasingly said. Everyone just erupted into laughter, and I glanced back at the gift in Elijah's hands. Uh, thanks," Elijah said, unsure of himself, unsure of what to make of the gift, but he began to crack up with the oddness of the present. "Yeah, thanks," I said jokingly and appreciatively to Jack. "Yeah, anytime," Jack cut in enthusiastically. I looked ahead at the bridge. We still had a bit left to cross, and the glow of civilization drew closer. Then, out of nowhere, Elijah said softly, "I could really use a pizza right about now." Everyone chuckled, and I nudged his hand beside me. The two of us connected hands again. Then Jack said, "We're going to get on well." Everyone smiled at that. As we walked in the direction of home, which had never felt as far away before, only now it doesn't feel like a world away because I have a cute boy in hand, and all I need for this Christmas season is surrounding me. Okay, so that brings us up to chapter 17. Um, but yeah, that was actually the official ending when I actually first wrote the book before I added the rest of the prologue on and that and everything. But yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying this little development. I hope you enjoyed the story tonight. I probably won't stay on much tonight I'll just probably say the the usual routines and that everything. But yeah, we're nearly there. We only have this little bit left, and it's pretty much most of the new prologue that I wrote before I released the book. But yeah, we're really flying through it, so that's kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I'm not going to stay on much longer. I know folks are busy, and you just probably want to get on and do stuff, which is our evening or day. But anyway, yeah, I'll set up all the links and that and everything for tomorrow. So make sure you stop by for another um another live stream event. And yeah, I think that's probably about it. It's been great, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's live stream. I had a good time with it. Um, don't forget to sign up to my mailing list. I'm dropping a short story soon enough anyway, so I can't wait to share that with you guys. But yeah, that's I think that's about it. I don't think I have really much else to say. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon, and I hope you have a nice evening or day wherever you are in the world. And yeah, bye bye.